Bollywood to Hollywood, Prof Brown, Indiana University,
Indiana University Biosphere for a while. My dean will hate me, but
it's a pleasure having you.
It was a pleasure being here.
I know you have a lot of interest in India.
Yes, yes.
And there is a similar issue, given your African American background and the untouchables in India.
Right.
And you have been to India.
Right, on 5 different occasions.
Which part would you go to?
Well, at this point, I've been pretty much all over. So, I've been down to Cochin, Bangalore, Chennai, Calcutta, all the way up to Amritsar, Delhi, Mumbai, Goa, Hyderabad. It's been pretty much all over.
Well, first of all, what's your impression of India? I mean, how come you are aware of this untouchable issue?
Well, the first time I went there was for 5 months as a Fulbright scholar. And India was a great pick, in part because it is so different from the United States, yet it has the impression that people speak English. So I more or less chose India as the place to go, because the Western influence is going to be an influence of individualism. It's going to be an influence that says it's wrong to discriminate against someone based on a characteristic that they were born with, something they didn't choose, whether it be race, whether it be untouchability, whether it be ethnicity, whether it even be gender. Within that sort of Western idea is a very powerful escape mechanism for groups who've been historically oppressed. The thing about the individualism, though, however, is it's fundamentally inconsistent with human society, because it preaches the importance of the individual who was born today. There is no idea that individual being reincarnated over a number of years. So,
slavery in America was only 250 years, but whereas in India we had it for at least 2000 BC, 3
right.
And now we have 2013.
Yes.
And it's slowing down in one form or the other.
Yes.
To my knowledge, first Lord Buddha came and attacked Hinduism, and they made him a Hindu god. Yes. It needs a mechanism.
Sure.
It's like an amoeba.
Sure.
Whatever it attacks, it absorbs. If you can win it, it absorbs. Makes part of it. Same thing happened with Christian Muslims. Now they're saying we're going to do the capitalism, the private sector will become the change in society. There are scholars to the government. But I'm not very sure that is going to happen. Is there anything we could learn to destroy this caste system, which is basically
Sure. And I think a little bit you might be underestimating the power of capitalism. And it's not just capitalism. People with money doing things that Indians didn't do 15 years ago. And once again, part of that is to say, well, look, in my relationship with someone else, it's not their position in some religious hierarchy that matters. It's from my individual standpoint, can I benefit from my interactions with them? Now, because Dalits are coming from a very poor economic, materialistic position, this is not a short fix. And I'm not trying to suggest it is, but I am trying to suggest that the seeds are there for the destabilization of Hinduism. I mean, this is indeed what you're saying. The thing about America, more so than any other country in the world, is it is a country that was created by immigrants who then were trying to overcome and free themselves of tradition. That really is at the core of the American culture. freedom from tradition, breaking down the long-standing beliefs. And as I travel through India, I see plenty of this influence from America, from the West, in the society. People talking more and more about love marriages. This was something that was totally unheard of when I first went there 15, 20 years ago. As I said before, the caste system was developed out of a rural culture. As you move towards the cities, this changes. The struggle by Dalits in the cities for anonymity now, push that out 2, 3 generations, where now you're talking about their grandkids, and there will be no concern about anonymity. They won't think about it. You just won't be an issue. So I guess this is something that ultimately will be resolved in probably 100 years. But I don't think Hinduism is going to be able to withstand this modern attack.
Well, my understanding about Hinduism at that point of time, it came out of the feudal structure. But we did enact, after Baba Sahib Ambedkar, and Dr. Rao, who came here and studied, brought it over. We basically copied American Constitution with the British Parliamentary Amendment. We had it, all these individual philosophy pillars, but we did not really absorb the spirit of it in the Indian context. So that's why the liberation of individual self-determination did not really happen in India. But Nehru brought in, copied Soviet model with the socialism, with a private economy capitalism. But Madam Gandhi, doctor, I think that he's our son Rajiv Gandhi, slowly now trying to push towards the private sector. But even then, I'm not so sure, because people may make money. It's like in America, there is black Indian. I mean, I live in Georgia. In the rural areas, black people are still oppressed.
Agreed.
And then I know.
Agreed.
I used to go to the white bars just to socialize. Black people won't come to the white, even today.
No. Without question, remember, even for us.
So how that has developed in America is going to be a salvation for India. That's my question.
I'm not saying that you're talking 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. I mean, we are talking in terms of centuries, 100, 200, 300 years. We're not talking decades. We are talking in terms of centuries. Think of the African-American condition and situation between today and 67 years ago, exercising tremendous political power. Indeed, the Trayvon Martin case, to me, what's so amazing about Trayvon Martin isn't that George Zimmerman got off. It's the fact that he was prosecuted in the first place. It's the reaction against the verdict. 50 years ago, you don't even prosecute a white man who kills a black man. That's just not even done. So even in the sense of a failure, there's also a tremendous victory. It's the same with Barack Obama. When I was in law school in 1982, and when I started teaching law, just to give you a sense, because I was at Yale Law School, it turned out that when I started to teach, a full 10% of the African American professors who were teaching law were with me at Yale. So when I talk about my experiences at Yale, I'm talking about my experience with very who were then go on to become law professors, shape the law, shape the legal thinking in American society. For us in 1982, we talked about the possibility of there being a black president, and we uniformly agreed there was no way that would happen And then 26 years later, we have Barack Obama. There's no question, our young people look at issues of race fundamentally different from my generation. The things that I think are right are the things that they think are old-fashioned, the things that are out of date. So I guess I'm trying to say I understand, but then I would come to you and say, look, think about the rural, the urban areas. Think about the differences between the lives of Dalits in urban areas in terms of caste. I don't want to talk about material conditions because those are pretty horrible even in the urban areas. But the functioning of caste, even in India itself, the assertion by the young of we should be able to choose who we marry. That's a fundamentalist notion of self-determination, to make that kind of decision, to assert that kind of choice. And once you assert it in an area like marriage, you assert it everywhere else. And core Hindu beliefs just are inconsistent with that kind of assertion of self-determination. So in some sense, African Americans will never overcome racial problems during my lifetime. So during my lifetime, this is not a possibility. And I am able to say during my lifetime I've seen tremendous success. But during my lifetime, no, the battle won't be won. Will it be won in my grandchild's lifetime?
Through reservation policy of India, and so economic boom. Maybe there will be a Dalit elite. But to destroy it is another question, because
there won't
the
be
grandmothers in this.
Right. There won't be a classless society. There could be a casteless society. So I don't ever foresee the point where humanity goes, we've eliminated distinctions based on socioeconomic issues. I don't see that. What I do see is fluidity, and individuals being able to move up this scale, socioeconomic scale, and down. So I don't see elimination of classes. What I see is the elimination of the rigidity that exists with the castes.
Well, it may loosen up a little bit, but I'm not sure if it will be eliminated fully. Only time I see it was kind of eliminated was through the Cultural Revolution in Mao's China. I mean, there may be some bad repercussions, but I had a Chinese roommate, and he tells me they don't go to church. They marry whomever they wanted. It's like a shock treatment. But to begin with, we didn't have any socialist revolution simply because we have this divided caste society. I have been also thinking lately. I just went on a trip to Europe and came back. It just occurred to me, unless you liberate women, they liberate themselves, there won't be any change in India, because women are ultimately Dalits. The men try. They fail. I'm just wondering what you would say. This is beside the base. Sure.
Well, let me put it this way. I travel through the traditional world, the South, Africa, Asia, not much in Latin America. Latin America is very different anyway. But let me take my travels through Africa and Asia. There's absolutely no question that what I see is a huge women's liberation movement going on in those parts of the world. Women asserting equality, me seeing it in positions of authority and power that I clearly did 20, 25 years ago. Indeed, even in India, certainly if I go back to when I was there in 96, 97, and compare that to when I was there in 2012, I see clearly a change in the way women are treated. I see more women who are being respected as power figures, as intellectual leaders. I'm not saying any of eliminated its patriarchy by any means. That's not the case at all. But yes, I do see less patriarchy or maybe more equality for women than what I saw when I first went there 15 years ago. And I do think that does change things, because to the extent that you liberate women, you also throw off traditional beliefs. And this is very much what I see in Africa, when you really see it. Being an African American, we've effectively seen the rise of African American women. When I go to conferences with law professors, with lawyers, a majority of the African Americans are women. 2/3 of our degrees in college are given to women. Women actually outnumber African American men and have for the past 2 decades in law, which has been a traditional male bastion of a profession. So, I see the liberation of women all over the planet, including in India too.
Well, I worked with Native Americans and international females. Iroquois. They have a matriarchal society. First, when I went to meet with them as a lawyer to start a casino, only women came to the meeting. So I asked them, where are men? He said, we decide and they follow. And we had some kind of tribal matriarchy in Northeast India, where all this backslide movement and all this happening. There is a matriarchal system there. But then I also look at Finland. One time I was watching public channel. The women there saw men not doing well. So they took over and they did all the kind of all-around revolution, basically. So the reason I brought it up, besides race and caste, it seems like we are continuing the caste system or a race through marriage, through progeny, whatever. It's the woman. We men kept control. Suppose they are liberated, taken out of it. Oh, perhaps it is they who could do it, because everything we have been thinking so far is from the male's point of view, the history. Even Marxism, even capitalism, everything is from the man's perspective. I'm thinking, suppose if we reverse the roles, put women in charge, maybe we won't let them liberate themselves, but they have to liberate somehow themselves. Maybe that's the only way that India can get rid of this caste system.
If you look at the United States, you clearly see the United States moving in a direction that at least is significantly empowering women, whether women will become the dominant political, economic, educational leaders is still yet to be seen. But it would be right to say, well, keep an eye on the United States to see that happens. We're certainly headed in that direction, but that's not what I'm advocating.
Well, let me give a small twist. Suppose if you have to suggest a model, model leader, would it be Martin Luther King, or would it be a Malcolm X that would be more guiding and helpful to this Dalit struggle in India?
I would probably suggest a combination of King, of Du Bois, and of Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington was sort of our black hat. You have to your own wealthy people to fund your liberation struggles. Because if you don't do that, the people who are giving money to your organizations will control the agenda. So I'm actually a strong believer in dollar capitalism, for example, in dollars working and learning and attempting to overcome the very difficult caste-based oppressions in the economic sphere that you're going to encounter. But I do believe that with money also comes power. So Martin Luther King Jr. was not himself focused on black capitalism. His programs were mostly related to government assistance to the poor. That's going to be limited. But very much the spiritual base and effort to create a beloved community, a sense of people caring about each other. Because, and I will say this is a potentially one of the problems I see in the dollar struggle, which I don't see in the African-American struggle, is the African-American struggle since the 1830s, 1840s, we had produced a consciousness that really did suggest we were all that the major form of raw oppression was slavery. That was based on race. That was going to impact you whether you were in Massachusetts or you were in Mississippi. Dollars aren't like that. I mean, your natural lines lead to splits within the dollar community based upon the subcaste and the occupations of subcaste groups. Solutions do presuppose a collective identity. And that's the thing that troubles me a little bit about the dollar situation is that you may not necessarily have a collective identity. If you don't have a collective identity, if one subcaste gets more material wealth, it isn't that they share with other dollars. They may just simply share with other members in their subcaste. So from that standpoint, I guess I probably come back to my background, who probably is the foremost thinker I know of who deals with this effort of the unification of the dollars. Because without that, you're not really a political force. What you are is a number of separate groups who are vying for their own individual piece of the pie. And that would threaten any group organizing solutions.
Well, we will see.
Yeah.
we don't continue this discussion.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm sure we will. Okay.
Her father loved me, often invited me, still questioned me in the story of my life. From year to year, the battles, sieges, fortunes that I have passed, I ran it through. Even from my boyish days in Africa to the very moment that he bade me tell it, wherein I spoke of most disastrous chances of moving accidents in the cotton fields of Georgia. This to hear, would America seriously incline? But still, the racial politics would draw her thence. Whichever she could with haste dispatch, she would come again, and with a greedy ear devour up my discourse, which I, observing, took once a pliant hour, and found good means to draw from her a prayer of earnest heart. that I would all my pilgrimage dilate, whereof by fossils of civil rights protests by Dr. King and Malcolm X. She had something heard, but not intentively. I did consent and often did beguile her of her tears when I did speak of something distressful stroke that George Floyd and others suffered. I can't breathe. All the police in the world, or the mighty armies of the empires, can never suppress the cry of freedom. My story being done, she gave me for my pains a world of sighs. She swore, faith, it was strange, it was passing strange, it was pitiful, it was wondrous pitiful. She wished she had not heard it, yet she wished that heaven had made her such a man. She thanked me and bade me, if I had an immigrant friend, I should but teach him how to tell my story, and that would woo her. Upon this hint I spoke. She loved me for the dangers I had passed, and I loved her that she did pity them. This only is the witchcraft as a black man I have used.